You ever wonder what it's like to start over after ending a long term marriage? Well, today I have two ladies with me, and we're going to be discussing just that. I'm your host, Brenda Warren. Welcome to Talk to Me. Dr. Jen Price and Miss Kat Timpson are here, and I'm going to have each lady introduce themselves, and then we're going to start the conversation. Dr. Jen, tell us about yourself.
Sure. Well, I am Dr. Jen Price. I'm an educator and counselor with over 20 years of experience. I'm also a college and career coach and a best-selling author of Generation Edge. So I'm here today to help out in any way that I can. Thanks for inviting me, Brenda.
Thank you, Dr. Price. And Miss Kat Timpson, please tell us about yourself.
Well, thanks, Brenda. I appreciate it. So, I am a realtor in New Jersey, specializing in investments and investment real estate. And I actually was divorced just last year, 2020, after 26 years of marriage. So, a big starting over. And I think it's a discussion we need to talk about because one of the things I focus on is the financial literacy component that can get missed for women once they are not with a partner.
And the reason I asked you ladies, and this was what do you call one of those fast impromptu conversations, and it all came up because on Monday, I had to take my soon to be ex husband of 23 years of with the time when we separated to a doctor's appointment. And while I was at the doctor's appointment, I received a call saying, Mrs. Warren, how are you today? I said, I'm doing fine. How are you? She said, just wanted to know, are you ready to start your planning for your 25th wedding anniversary? Needless to say, I had a little mini meltdown. And I was like, I'm really sorry. We won't be having that anniversary after all, because we're in the midst of a divorce. We've been separated almost 2 years now. She apologized. She didn't know. I said, no, I'm sorry. I didn't call back and cancel the arrangements. After getting off the call, I was heading back to home because I had to wait for him to get done with his procedure. And I want to start by saying we have a conscious uncoupling that's not combative or anything. So that's a blessing, which is why I could take him to an appointment and make sure that he was okay. However, once I got home, I went to my filing cabinet and I pulled out the paperwork for my 25th wedding anniversary planning. And I kind of flipped through it. And inside there, I found an envelope. And it said, read this. I'm like, read this. And I'm opening it. It was two letters inside that envelope. And one was said, read this if you made it. Read this if you didn't. And I looked at the date on the letter, and it was written 10 years ago. So I read the one that said, if you made it. And the one that said, if you made it, said, congratulations, girls. You did it. You guys beat the odds. You made it. Enjoy yourself. Make this the most fabulous occasion you possibly can. Enjoy your vow renewal. Yada, 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 yada. Really, uplifting. You've been through some challenges. You did it. The other one was, if you didn't make it. And the if you didn't make it one said, first, let me tell you, you are enough. And I sat with that for a minute. And it said, I want you to remember that if this marriage didn't work, it wasn't because you did not try. It was because he didn't want it. It takes two. And then the letter went on to say some other really personal things and reminded me of some stuff. And it says, I want you to remember that you are amazing, that you are worthy of love, and that God will send the love of your lifetime sometime soon. I don't know where you are in this process, how long you endured, but if you're reading this letter, that means you didn't make it. Forgive yourself, forgive him, and move on. Let it go. And I sat there with tears coming down my eyes, and I was thinking about it. And then it went on to say a couple of other things. But the main thing was it told me to let it go, to love like there's no heartbreak, to remember who I am and whose I am. And it reminded me one of the things I always say, which is the choices you make today will be the reality you live tomorrow. Choose wisely. And it said, P.S., make better choices. But remember, the choices you made were based on the information you had at the time. Don't beat yourself up. P.S. Pull your head out of your bleep bleep and keep it moving. You have one day for a pity party, and after that, if it does not serve you, let it go, which is why you see at the bottom, today, if it no longer serves you, let it go. So with that, ladies, let's start the conversation. Dr. Jen, we weren't sure. I know you also have gone through a divorce. Do you want us to give a little information about yours?
Sure. I was married for 22 years. I married a gentleman that I met in college, and my divorce was finalized about 15 months ago. And so I have a 7-year-old son, and I could tell you that I never expected to end up being a single parent, and of course there were some challenges associated with that. And having been with someone for so long, I literally had to start over, and it was shocking. It shouldn't have been shocking, but it was just very difficult to lose so many people in my life at the same time. I don't think I was really prepared for that.
Now, that was one of the things I think was the hardest part. I wasn't prepared for the loss of all the others, I'll refer to them as, because all of a sudden, I don't know if you ladies experienced this, and maybe Kat, you can talk to this, but I began to feel like I was a pariah, because women that before were very friendly with me now treated me as if I had leprosy, especially in the church. I call it they clutched their pearls when I came around, especially when I started losing weight and getting fit, fierce, and fabulous. It was a whole another situation. Kat, how'd that work out for you?
That's so interesting that you ask. I mean, I really was the instigator of my divorce. And I live in somewhere that there are just couples everywhere. And I think that idea of being a single woman was scarier for them than it was for me. That people couldn't wrap their head around, what do you do with somebody who's not a couple? And that was okay with me, because I think what happens in those situations is you really learn who your best friends are. You learn the people that are there for you, as opposed to there because they feel they should be, or they like the idea of being in another couple. But that's, I think the challenges that you go through with divorce are what teach you how you're going to live after the divorce. And that is exactly one of the things that I went through, was thinking of who I am as an individual. What do I want as an individual? And I really hadn't thought of that for a long time. I have kids who are 24 and 20, so I wasn't still parenting them in the same way, but they also didn't know me as an individual. They knew me as mom. So that's been a really interesting challenge, to be single.
Now, that part's interesting for me as well. I am also the instigator of my divorce, and after 23 years, I'd hit my social limit. I have a 20-year-old. So again, unlike Dr. Price, I didn't have to deal with the little one, and I was thanking God for that part. But that's also one of the reasons why I stayed so long, because I did not want to be a single parent. And I knew I should have left years earlier. But the fear of being a single parent was stronger than the desire to get away from a relationship that wasn't working for me. So I'm not sure. When I look back, I'm glad I found that letter, because I had been beating myself up so bad over the past, almost 2 years about walking away, saying, did I really try hard enough? Did I really give everything I could have given? And I'm clear that I did. And but what I found is, as I talk to different people, there's not a lot of conversations about what do you do when you are the one that walks away, especially as a woman. Like you say, people don't feel comfortable. You're now a single woman, and people treat you differently. Did you have that experience, Dr. Price?
I definitely had that experience. I was a part of a friend group from college that, we all basically were in the brother sister fraternity and sorority, and people basically married off. And then, so everyone was a couple, and we would fellowship with each other, with those different couples. And so, where is your place when you're not a part of the couple? There really isn't a place. And there's some awkward, uncomfortable moments too with, I'm not sure I want you to be around my spouse. And so it's just kind of an uncomfortable situation. But just kind of going back to what Kat was saying, I just really had to focus on learning who I am again, because I had lost who I was, and just even remembering, what do I like? What do I enjoy? What were those dreams that I, longed for, and started really focusing in on those and making progress towards those things.
Now, part of starting over is having to figure out what are you going to do financially. And Kat, I know you as a realtor, and that's one of the things you speak on also as a public speaker. Can you speak to that for a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to say to both of you, I'm sure you experienced this. I am surprised in 2021 that there's still a stigma around divorce. I had a boss who, when I brought her the idea of working with real estate and divorce and how to combine that, she said, "Oh, you don't want people to know you're divorced. No, you might have sellers who won't want you to be around their husbands." So
isn't that interesting?
it was shocking to me. It was also surprising to me how many people I've spoken to after divorce who are in a similar situation about financial literacy. I am far from financially illiterate, but the truth was I had an ex who was in the financial world, and that was his bailiwick. He was good at it, and I wasn't that interested in it. So I was involved, but I never took care of the finances. So it was a real wake-up call, but also a really exciting, self-challenging and self-fulfilling opportunity to get my stuff in gear, to get my business up and running with no safety net, none, that I felt that I had when I was married. And I think there are a lot of women, though, who still struggle with what to do financially and how to handle it. And it's a big topic for me. What I want to talk, and I do talk to women about, is using the various tools that they can use to become more successful in their finance and their business. Real estate, and we can go back to it, but real estate being one. It's a great opportunity for women to use a tool that a lot of women are not involved in, real estate investment. So I think it's a sort of big picture of where women are, and data shows, and Dr. Jen, you probably know this, data shows that women, whether they're separated or divorced, consistently lose financial success and ground compared to their male counterparts.
Right. I can't speak to the data on that, but definitely could see some truth to that statement, Kat.
What I would ask is, to you, Kat, and to both of you ladies, when you were at the point of your divorce, had you both worked outside of the home prior to the divorce?
I had worked outside the home, but what I chose to do was focus on positions to things that they were jobs that I enjoyed, but it wasn't necessarily what I truly wanted to do. I basically tried to make decisions based on what I thought would be most advantageous to our family unit. There were a couple of positions that I took because I was curious about, but really I knew all along that I wanted to do college and career advising full time. I had always wanted to be a speaker, and I was just kind of afraid and kind of basically hid from that. And some of the other big dreams that I had in terms of writing a book, I would pretty much put the needs of my spouse or the family in front of what I really wanted. And I just kept doing it over and over and over again, thinking that that was the right thing to do. That was what a good wife does, when in reality, I was becoming less and less like who I really am and who I was designed to be and to become.
And that's scary, because I felt like I was losing. Well, I felt like I lost myself years ago. So that was a new revelation when I had the ability to just make decisions just for myself alone and not had to worry about my partner at the time. Kat, did you work outside the home prior to this?
I had started to, and I went into real estate a couple of years before my ex and I separated. But I think what's so interesting about it is I think subconsciously, while you're in relationships, you don't really realize how much, especially as a woman, you take on sort of the emotional, to become the emotional barometer of the family, and how much you lose of yourself, not because you mean to in any way, but yes, you do put everybody else in front of you. And if your spouse is somebody who needs whatever they need emotionally and you're there for them, you start to become, lower in the totem pole. And even with business, when I had started real estate, it was almost not as important. It was like, it was not a hobby, but hey, it's just something mom's doing, as opposed to having an actual business that is now thriving. So that's an interesting transition to think of yourself as a career person as opposed to having a job.
Now, Dr. Price, you've written a book during your time since your separation. Would you like to tell us about that?
Sure, and let me show it to you as well. This is my
All right.
best-selling book, Generation Edge, The Student's Four-Step Guide to College and Career Success. This book has been inside of me for many, many years. And I feel like because I made that leap and made that jump back into singledom and decided, this relationship is not working, it's not serving me. It takes both people to really grow together versus just, growing apart. And so we really weren't a good fit. And I think it would have been more helpful if I would have known myself better before I got married. I think that would have helped me make a better choice in terms of my spouse. But being that I am a mother of a 7-year-old and becoming single, I had actually taken off a year from my working at a school. And I wasn't necessarily prepared or even planning to get a divorce. I was just planning to just kind of ride out the situation to the end of time. But after my dad passed, I realized, I just really want to be happy and life is too short. And so when I filed for divorce, I was unemployed. And so really it was a matter of sink or swim. You're leaving this relationship. Now you have to provide for yourself and your son. And so that really lit the fire because it was about, how are you going to take care of yourself and your son? And so that really got me going because, it wasn't just me at stake.
Now, Kat, I know that you're also a public speaker. And when you speak to women, do you speak to women about finances and how to prepare themselves financially, whether they remain in a marriage or exit?
I'm really interested in, it's not anything against married women, because I do believe that there are a lot of women who need to talk realistically about financial literacy. But as I said, the data really shows that women who are divorced or even separated lose something like 20 to 30% of their financial security as opposed to the men. So for me, it's really important to get the message out that we need to discuss that we need to get ahead of that curve. And again, no assumptions, no stigma, because a lot of people feel that women who are financially, quote, either lacking literacy or illiterate are women who are not educated or they don't have a career. That's not true. There are a lot of women who are in high level careers who just did not take on that aspect of the marriage. They were, like many of us, dealing with the emotional, the social, the entertainment, anything like that was different role in the marriage. So I do like to speak specifically to women who are either separating or divorced because of that.
Well, over the past few months that we've been in this pandemic, I've heard of so many cases of women that are not financially stable, not just due to divorce or separation, but also due to death. And I think it's important that we become financial literate, because one of the cases that's right now that's gone viral on YouTube is the lady who had a fabulous life and was very well loved. And her husband passed due to COVID. But at his passing, she found out that her life was not secure at all, that it was all smoke and mirrors. She had no idea that the house she was living in wasn't hers, or the financial situation, and she's never worked outside the home. And now in the midst of a pandemic, she's scrambling to figure out how to support her and her kids. He didn't even have life insurance, but she had never wanted for anything. And by her own account, she's a pampered princess. But now she's dealt with the reality, or is dealing with the reality, that she has to figure out, where does she go from here? What's next? And we have women that this is my, unfortunately, third divorce. I got married very young the first time. Didn't have any financial issues then. We were both young. We had nothing. The second time I wasn't as young, but I thought I had done all the right things. But I really thought this was from here to eternity. My husband was a very good provider. I never questioned finances, but when that marriage ended and he divorced me, um, he left me with absolutely nothing. And I was like eating hamburger and spaghetti for weeks at a time until I was able to get myself together and I had no idea of the finances, the situation. And I vowed then I would never, ever be put in that situation again. So at this time, I was very aware of where money was, what our investments were, what was going on. So I did not end up in those financial dire straits. But a lot of women are afraid to ask the question, what is going on? So they're not in a position to even leave a marriage because they don't know how to support themselves, let alone if they have children. So we make choices sometimes due to the financial reasons. I think it's very valuable what you do, Kat, to make sure that women can get educated in that area.
Yeah, I'm very excited to bring that. And I have to say, through real estate, what a lot of people don't realize is you're going into mediation and you have maybe a house and you're trying to divide equity. There are so many. Your point of not, the woman who didn't know, your point is well taken, because there are so many even legal specialists who don't help you with that. For example, you go into negotiations for mediation, almost nobody talks about look into the liens that are possibly on a home.
Mm-hmm.
There are stories, horror stories, that one spouse or the other forged a name and took a lien out, and the other one didn't realize, and then the other one has taken on the house. They thought they were getting, whatever, X amount of money for the equity of the house. Meanwhile, the house is underwater, and the other person got all the money. There are just a lot of things that need to be unearthed and talked about, and it really is up to the professionals, myself included, but legal professionals, mediation professionals, divorce specialists, to help women and men, but to help people in divorce uncover all of the aspects of their finance. And right now we don't, and that's part of it. And as you said, it's really important that we start not when you're getting divorced, but when you're single, to know about your finances and what that looks like. Most people don't get married thinking they're going to get divorced.
Absolutely not. I know I didn't.
I didn't either.
I didn't either.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the part too, is that we go in with very good intentions. But I think even with good intentions, it's my contention that you need to have good intentions, but still be prepared. We've had this situation for so long where women, oh, I'm married, you get relaxed and you just believe that everything is going to be perfect and that it's going to work out. And so you don't plan for what if. And I want your thoughts about now with what you know. If moving forward,
Mm-hmm.
not to start, and maybe now, since it's been some time since you've been out of your divorces, are you ready to move forward in the dating? And then what would you do differently financially or with your careers moving forward?
Well, there's three things. I would say I'd start with my career. I would say I would be bold enough to go after what's in my heart and not sit on it. I was trying to be a good spouse and make sure that my ex was able to accomplish his career goals and aspirations, because I thought that was, what a wife is supposed to do. And I'm not saying you're not supposed to support your spouse, but there were moments over and over, time and time again, where I would just kind of minimize what my aspirations were and not really go hard after them. And so that would be something that I would tell people, to be true to yourself and those dreams that you have, what you hope to do with your life and your career, the way you want to give back to the world. Don't compromise on that, not even for the sake of loving someone. That would be one thing. And I'll let Kat talk about that piece about career if she wants, and then maybe talk about dating,
Sure.
and even finances after that. Or finances and then dating.
Tee me up, lady. Tee me up. So one of the things that I think is really despicable, and we do need to discuss this, and this is some of the things I'm starting to parlay, is how expensive divorce is. And
Oh,
as people stay in marriages for finance, they stay in marriages because divorce is expensive. I spent tens of thousands of dollars and we didn't even have that much. So I think that's an issue we need to discuss. Why is it way more expensive to get divorced than it is to get married? Why is it so much more difficult to get divorced? And that's not to say that it isn't valuable to try to stay married, but if you're sure, you're usually pretty sure. And then it becomes years of agony to get out of this relationship where it took you could have gone down to the courthouse in 20 minutes and gotten married, right? So it's fast. The other part is I think that everybody has to look at what they want going forward. I did start dating. I went on an app for like a month. I was really sort of lucky and I hit it off with somebody who's an incredible guy, different in many, many ways to my ex, which makes sense, similar in many wonderful ways. But I think the issue is knowing who you are. And Jen, you had said this, it's really knowing who you are and what you want. And if you're not ready to know that, you don't know that, like you're not taking time to figure out who you are, then I wouldn't date heavily. I mean, companionship is awesome, harder during COVID, but to jump into something, not knowing who you are, not figuring out what didn't work or what did work or all those things, I don't think it's really fair to somebody else because even, they're coming to it with their issues, but you have this story and this burden, and to bring that and not have explored to go forward, I don't think it's fair. And I think I feel very lucky that I've taken that time to do that and now have a great and amazing friendship and love, which is something I never expected, certainly not this fast.
yeah. I've chosen to remain without a relationship until my divorce is final. Mine's not final yet. It's been almost 2 years, and I finally went to file the paperwork because I wanted to be sure that there was no option of us getting back together. And now that I'm very clear that is not going to happen, I will be filing, and it should be finished within the next 30 days. But I made a conscious decision not to date until I was totally divorced, partly because I knew I had a lot of work to do. I'd been married for 23 years. It was my third marriage. And I thought to myself, there's one common denomination, one common denominator in my marriage. That's me. So what is it about me that causes me to enter these relationships with people that are emotionally unavailable and keep making that same mistake? And I wasn't willing to make that mistake again. So when someone asked me recently about don't I want to have a relationship, I said, I'm not looking for love, but I'm definitely prepared to love finally because I've done the work. And that was important to me. Like you said, I didn't want to take nothing from my ex to my next. I didn't need the unnecessary baggage, and I thought it was important that I started with as much of a clean slate as I could by understanding how to properly communicate with someone, how to be clear on who I am and whose I am, to be clear on what I wanted so that I'm not trying to make the other person be a mind reader or pay the price for the past mistakes of the other relationships that I had.
Well, that's going to be a very lucky man.
I think he's going to be a very lucky man.
Very lucky partner, one way or the other.
Yeah, because, it's really important. The one thing, I was fortunate that I didn't get married back to back where I rebounded. I know I didn't rebound on any of them, but I also know I had not done the work necessary to be clear about what I needed, what I wanted, or how to speak up for myself, which is one of the reasons I refer to myself as a voice for the voiceless, because in my practice, I help people find their voices because I felt voiceless for so many years because as a card carrying people pleaser, I, over the past 2 years, have learned the value and the importance of the word no. No is a complete sentence, and I didn't know that before. And I didn't know it was okay to ask for what I wanted. And I didn't know that it was okay to go after my own dreams and aspirations, that I didn't have to have braces on my brains and be a contortionist to conform to somebody else's ideal of what a wife should be or what submission is. Submission doesn't mean that you're a doormat. It simply means that you know how to, what is it? I use the term, I've learned to agree to disagree without being disagreeable.
Very good. I mean, absolutely, Brenda. I mean, just really focusing on our needs are really important too, and being clear about what those are. I feel like sometimes society can try to portray that what we might want could be wrong, when in reality that there are different people out there for us, and there are people that are more than happy to meet the needs that we have. If you want more communication, there are people that are wired to give you more communication. If you want more affection, there are people wired that way, and it's not wrong. People are just different. And once you understand what you need in a relationship, you'll be able to identify that as you're meeting people. So I am out there dating online. It's been a little rough. I wish I were you, Kat. I've been on many sites.
There were a few real doozies.
Yeah.
Not so much the dates, but the responses. So kind of glad
Yeah.
to be out of it for that reason. You'll do fine because you'll be honest and genuine. Everybody will be too. So that's awesome.
You know,
I've been out of the dating game for a long time, and so I'm learning a lot of the games and learning, applying what I've learned in, as a counselor in terms of human development and people psychology, sociology. I've been able to use my degree for sure.
You're going to overthink that one, I'm sure.
You know what I think is funny though? I wish there was like a place or a forum where women could get together and talk about the challenges of starting over. You know, the fear of dating, because I have a fear of dating again. That was not something I ever thought I'd be in. I'm 58 years old. What do I look like dating someone? It's like I want to be married. I don't want to be dating people. But at the same time, it's a new way of looking at things and how we go forward. How have you found, now that you are in this particular station in your life, how have you found the ability to pursue your careers in the way you want to? So now you are at the point where you're starting over. We're in different stages. Kat, you're fortunate that you're in relationship now. Are you finding that you still want to pursue your career, or are you putting it on a back burner again?
Oh, no, completely the opposite. I think that it's so interesting to me to be with somebody who legitimately adores every success that I have and relishes it for me. I think that was something that I had an issue with my ex, is that we were both really big personalities, but he wanted to win more. So my successes were not as appealing to him. And he would say they were, but then the actions were really different. And so what I did was sort of tamp down anything that I was doing that was a positive, because I didn't want him to feel badly. And now it's like being completely awakened. I mean, literally, I went back to the company that I loved, that the ex had asked me to leave. I've done well financially. I started winning awards. I had never won awards. Like, what?
Congratulations.
So, super exciting. Thanks. And you know, that for me, the really great thing was to be with someone who would say, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be with, you know, the president of this or the winner of that, and to really, really embrace that. And 1000%, he's not competing with me. He's enjoying my success and vice versa. So I think when you're in a situation where you can really embrace your career and do it the way you as a human come to it, with, you know, open heart and open mind, that's where I'm going. And that's what's super exciting about the next phase.
I will say for me, I'm fortunate that even in my 23-year marriage, my husband did always embrace my success. As a matter of fact, I can honestly say that he was a force behind a lot of the success I had. He always pushed me to do more, to do better, and always, applauded my success. So that is one thing I can say that that is one thing that was intact in our relationship. He was very rah-rah and supportive in anything I wanted to do in my career, and I will be forever grateful for him for that. I was also fortunate that he treated my parents as if they were his own. And most people thought my parents were his parents. And with me even saying that, people say, well, then how did you end up with a divorce? Well, that's a long story. We're not going to here. Just say there were things that were not as good as that issue. So we're in the position that we're in now, and it's sad, but he is a really good guy, and I'm fortunate that I can say that and not have animosity towards him.
And if I can, Brenda, I'll just say the caveat is my ex was incredibly supportive in a custodial way. If I wanted to do a course or if I wanted to try something, he was always there for that. But the core of it, the emotional support, when I would come home excited about something, he would sort of, it was like what was behind his eyes wasn't the excitement on my behalf. It was like, oh, okay, great. And that was where it was like so almost nuanced. Yeah. That's why I thought, yeah, I'm being supported in the best way I can. I thought for 20 years now, knowing somebody supporting me in a different way, I'm like, oh yeah, not so much.
And see, and that's important that you mentioned that, because although I can say that as far as my career was concerned, I was very supported emotionally. The support was not there. I was more like I had a best friend, not a husband. So that, after 23 years, that gets old. Yeah. So.
Right. I felt supported too. I mean, when I was working on my PhD, I had help with the dishes and the laundry and our child. But really what I needed probably more than anything was the emotional support. And not everyone knows how to do that or give that, or in a place where they can kind of grow and evolve and understand what that is, being emotionally available. And so, I mean, just because someone can do tasks for you but it's not necessarily the same as a connection. And so that's kind of what I'm looking for. That's different now, a connection and having emotional support and just the communication. And so I've been working on, being a better communicator, being more assertive, because I think as women, we just sometimes don't necessarily feel comfortable asking for what we really need or want and just somehow minimize it. But it is truly important. And I found that as I'm single and as I'm getting the support that I've needed all along, that is what I think has helped fast track my progress. Not just the fact that I'm motivated to support myself and my son, but because I have authentic relationships in my life, not necessarily from men, but just from other people who are true friends and people who really know who I really am and are there for me and call and check on me. And just because I feel so supported, I feel like I have wings now and I'm able to soar in ways that I didn't before. So that book came a whole lot easier. The online course and College Edge came a whole lot easier. So even though we were in a worldwide pandemic, I accomplished things that I've wanted to for a lifetime because I had the support that I needed. It makes a world of a difference.
It does make a world of a distance.
That's so awesome. I'm so happy for you. I love that term. I feel like I had wings where I didn't. That's brilliant. And sorry to interrupt. Just a caveat is I'm so proud of how my ex and I were really good partners in so many ways. But what I've also learned, and Jen, I think you were saying it's not just communication, but it's what kind of response you need. If somebody's really great at doing things and that's their way of expressing their affection or their love, that's great. But if you're somebody who really wants to hear what they're thinking, what they're feeling, or if you're somebody who really needs gifts. Some people are like that, right? The 5
love language.
Yes, exactly. The love languages. And I think that's really fair to think about. It doesn't mean you can't be with the person, but I think that's one of the things I've found is what really speaks to me, and I don't have to ask for it because I've found a relationship that gives me those things that I intrinsically am drawn to, like discussions and, some real emotional intelligence.
I think it's important for every woman to know her deal breakers. what it is that in the relationship doesn't work for them. Like for some women, a deal breaker is if you cheat on me, I'm done. If you lie to me, I'm done. If you are not a person that can financially take care of me, I'm done. Whatever that deal breaker is, you need to know what it is and be honest and upfront in the beginning. And I think a lot more of us need to be clear about what our emotional support needs are in the beginning. And the truth is, for me, if I had paid attention or at least not been in denial, I would have recognized it during our dating that there was not an ability to do some of the things that I felt I needed. But, looking back, one of the things we know from being with Chris and Jen, the super connectors, from the Be on TV boot camp, is that you connect the dots after looking back. You can't connect them going forward sometimes. So that's just one of the things. And I think we could have this conversation for a really long time, but I want us to just take some time right now, ladies, to say, so what's next for each of you?
Well, real love is in my future.
Okay,
and
now.
and I'll continue to work on myself and grow and become the best version of myself, and to continue to help as many teenagers and young adults in their college and career search. That is what motivates me. That's what drives me, aside from my love for my son, but also being true to myself and giving myself what I need, and then someone coming along that will only make things even better. It's already good now, but someone that will come along and partner with me, be my forever Valentine. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I like that. How about you, Kat?
Well, I love that. I think that's awesome, Jen. I think that the idea of being truly able to help other people from my own experience is just the best thing that I want to bring. The idea that I know something maybe a few steps ahead of somebody else, and that will help them. A woman who maybe doesn't know what her options are, or she's not as aware of how she could succeed financially. And I say it not because money equals success, but your independence and your financial stability are huge for your children, for your family. It's really valuable. It's not, it's about who you are. So it's so exciting to think that I have maybe a platform and can go forward using something I love, which is my career and my business in real estate, and then take that a step further, not just to help my clients, but to help a bigger, broader section of people, and especially women, because that's just a big, big issue of interest for me, that women gain strength and knowledge for their own success. And that of their daughters, by the way.
Definitely.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
We'll have to come back and talk about this again and bring some more ladies. Maybe we'll do a bigger Zoom platform or something. But for those ladies out there that are just starting to deal with their breakup, I want to tell you a resource that just recently became published, and it is a book by my friend Miss Francois. And I don't know if you guys can see this. I will put the information for the book in the chat. Can y'all see this? I'm trying to make sure I give a good picture of it. But it's called Let That Man Go. 5 Steps to Getting Over a Breakup. It is a journal and a book filled with hilarious little anecdotes. And this is my friend right here, Miss Francois. She has a television show that comes on, and I'm telling you, this book had me laughing and crying all at once because of her stories inside the book. It's available on Amazon, and it is so in $5.99. Come on, this is one of the best investments you're going to make, because she walks you through some things and lets you journal your way through your breakup, gives you some insight. And just one of the things he says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Proverbs 4:23. And there's places to basically just put your feelings on there. There's a passion project. There's a lot of good affirmations. I'm a phenomenal woman. Hear me roar. It's really a nice little book to do that. And if you need some more, my own book, Soul Searching, Get on Board for Transformation Using the Tap-In Method, is on Amazon as well. And I'm just excited that we had this opportunity to talk. But before we go, ladies, I want to invite you, as well as any of the viewers, to go to the website above my head to www.nevcc.org/projects and thank a veteran. At this website, nevcc.org/projects, you can find the Basket Brigade. That is where you can find one of 12 months to make an entry to tell a veteran thank you. January was a fresh start. And in February, it's live, learn, and pass it on. And there's other topics all throughout the year. You don't have to stick with the current month, but just pick a month and write a thank you. Tell them something positive. And at the end of the year, we're going to compile all those thank yous, create a book, and pass it out to veterans. So take the time to thank a veteran. Ladies, before we go, I'd like to have your final thoughts, that you'd give a piece of advice that you wish you had before you started this process. And also, after you do that, please give us your contact information, which I'll also include in the description, so people know how to contact you, so that Dr. Jen, we can get your book. And for Kat, so we can buy some real estate, invest in some real estate, and get you to come out there and speak to some ladies on how to manage their finances.
Sure. I like to begin by just saying there's a difference between good and great. And I think a lot of times we stay with someone because they're good, but good doesn't mean right. So that's one final thing I'd like to leave with ladies who are struggling with whether or not they should stay in a relationship or leave it. To get in touch with me, you can find me on social media at Dr. Jen Price. If you contact me on Instagram, if you slide into my DM, and give me your email address, I'm happy to send you a free gift that will help you if you have a college-bound student. So at Dr. Jen Price. My book is on Amazon, but the easiest way to find my book is mygenerationedge.com. Again, that's mygenerationedge.com. I look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Dr. Jen. Kat?
Well, I feel like the thing that I didn't realize was how much I was going to vacillate between okay with it and not okay with it, happy, sad, so many peaks and valleys. And I think everyone needs to remember when they're going through a breakup that it takes two. There's no one. If it's a relationship and the marriage is failing, then both people failed on some level. And it's really important that everyone take responsibility for how they go forward. And that sets up your opportunity to think about how you're going to go forward as an individual, taking some of the responsibility and also understanding that it's not all your fault. So I think that gives people an emotional clearance to go forward and grow.
And how do they get in touch with you, Kat?
Easily, I'm at Coldwell Banker, Kat Timpson at Coldwell Banker in Summit, New Jersey. I also have an investment company, Tilo Property Solutions. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. Just catch my name, find me. I'd love to talk to you about it. Great opportunities all around, especially with Zoom, to talk to big groups about these kinds of important issues. And if you have any thoughts or any questions, please reach out. I would love to help you out with that and give you some insight, especially about investments in real estate. Our whole market is going to pivot now that we have some new challenges coming. And this is going to be a really great opportunity for a lot of people, but especially women, to grow and to become financially stable.
Well, my final thoughts are, ladies, thank you for joining me today on this discussion on starting over. And for those of you watching, I'd like you to just take the time to think about what you really want in life. How can you live your best life? Remember, the choices you make will be the reality you live tomorrow. Choose wisely. Be blessed, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye now.